Hey everybody, welcome back to Dead Reckoning. I'm Jay Friesen, and this is Brian Madsen. And on Above the Paygrade today, we're
going so far above the pay grade that this is wild.
Most guys find, most guys do. I think the hot thing now to find a wife or a spouse or a significant other is to use like Christian Singles or Mingles or dating services, dating sites, because it's difficult. My brother-in-law just got married. He's a Manhattan, broker. He just got married, and he met his wife on one of those dating sites. Well, now RJ does something really interesting, and that being the case is he's actually used one of our most favorite social medias ever, Twitter.
Yes.
And
Twitter. He met his wife on Twitter.
Ever known to meet somebody on Twitter.
So hashtag to holy matrimony. How in the world did this happen? How did you do this, RJ? This is RJ Moeller. He is the principal of Hashtag Productions, an entrepreneur from Southern California. And RJ, how did you do this and not come across as the world's biggest creep?
Wow. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. The Twitter, about 2 years ago, I started to use Twitter, seriously for my writing, for different speaking I was doing. I was involved with groups like the Acton Institute and American Enterprise Institute. And eventually I got a job helping the syndicated talk show host Dennis Prager with his social media and different event planning and things for him. And so I moved from Chicago to Southern California. And as I started to interact with Dennis's fans, most of whom are, 65 years old and retired.
Yeah.
I would come across occasionally other young people in their 20s, early 30s, and I would always just strike up a conversation with them and just say, hey, thanks for listening. Dennis loves his younger fans. And I would let people know, hey, we're going to be planning some events at colleges, at churches, and, wanting younger folks to come out to things. And then one day I saw multiple quotes from Dennis's own book from this girl. And I looked at her profile and I was like, oh, she's not 65. And she looks interesting. And so we just struck up a conversation on Twitter saying, hey, thanks for following Dennis or whatever. And then I may or may not have, from Dennis's account, tweeted out a couple of my own articles that I had written. And she and her whole family were living in Atlanta, actually, and listening to Dennis for years. And her whole family started retweeting my stuff and reading my things, listening to the podcast that I was doing at the time, all these different things. And one thing led to another. We started interacting on Facebook, and then I got to see pictures of her, which is always the important thing. And I was like, oh, she's actually, not only is she not 65, she's actually very attractive and athletic and Christian, and all these things started to line up. And eventually we started emailing, and then, the story writes itself from there. Once we got to start to get to know each other, things really took off. And then the key pivotal moment for me was, after talking with her for about a month, I sent her C.S. Lewis's The Space Trilogy books, and which are my favorite.
You're a man of good taste. We knew that, bringing you on the show, but now you've confirmed it for everybody. You're a man of fine taste.
And I asked her, would you like to read through these with me? Because I was starting at the time, and I'm still trying to get it going, maybe this year again, a Twitter book club where people would read it together and then use social media for a little bit of a higher purpose in terms of not just arguing about the election or telling you, sending you a picture of what their lentil soup looked like that night, something a little bit deeper. And we ended up really enjoying reading those books together. And then, I don't know, things really started to snowball, but it initially started on Twitter and because we had similar interests.
Where were you when Anthony Weiner needed you?
Yeah. Yes, I can confirm that Dennis Prager will have no Anthony Weiner moments.
Yes, oh my goodness, that's just hilarious.
I love, Twitter is one of those things that can be very highly contested in terms of people are like, I don't understand it, I don't get it. It's used for a variety of circumstances in a variety of ways. But there's a common thread with Twitter throughout all this. Even my use, which is primarily like professional networking, it's like a giant business meeting. We do tech support, a variety of things. But it's a common interest. It's the common interest element that brings people together on Twitter, whether it's production, whether it's Dennis Prager, whether it's C.S. Lewis, whether it's Brian, whatever, baseball or whatever sport you watch.
Whatever it is I do on Twitter. Yeah, so what's cool about Twitter, I mean, and people hate Twitter for all the, probably all the right reasons.
And people love Twitter.
But it seems to me, RJ, that your situation is you found somebody who had similar interests. And that's the cool thing about hashtags, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we called the company Hashtag Productions, is because, and my nickname for Whitney when we first started dating is I would just, affectionately call her my hashtag. And, because that really is the way that we met, through these common interests, through Dennis Prager, through C.S. Lewis. We would use similar hashtags. And then I started, my friends out here in Los Angeles started calling her Georgia Girl. So I started using the hashtag Georgia Girl to refer to her on Twitter. And eventually when it got around to putting this company together, which focuses primarily on live events, but wanting to bring people together for the purposes of an interesting conversation based around some common themes and values, we said, hey, this is the hashtag on Twitter is that. It brings people together focused on a certain point, and it allows people from all around the world, the entire planet, can interact on, add a word, ruin a movie hashtag, and start making fun of, you really could start to have a conversation that way, even though it is, yes, it can be very informal. It can be detached in the sense that you don't really see those people. Losers like Keith Olbermann can attack me on Twitter as they did over the weekend.
Yeah, but you said something not nice about him. You said that you didn't like listening to his baseball commentary. He took that very personally, I noticed.
Yeah, apparently. And, it's one of those things where the folks who aren't on it, that's fine. And it's usually, I was about to say my parents aren't, but now my mom is on Twitter, which is scary. But most of the people that aren't on it, it's for, usually now I'm finding it's for some sort of Ron Swanson-esque, screw technology type reason. But anybody who gets on there and really starts interacting, it is whatever you want it to be. And so if you're on there 24/7 arguing with people, it's going to give you an ulcer. Or if you go on there to follow certain news people and follow your friends and interact and stay up to date on news, it's a great way to connect. It's a great way to interact, but it isn't necessarily the way I would recommend everyone go and find their spouse. I think I got lucky, and very lucky, and married way above my pay grade.
It just well played. It just comes across as like it can come across as really creepy if everyone goes out and tries to find a girl on Twitter. But you know what I love about everything here is it's a redemptive use of technology. We're finding ways to use these things that, somebody could argue that technology or some of our social media is amoral. But at the same time, we're able to use it as kind of, we can find redemptive uses for it, which is really great in terms of bringing our faith to bear on kind of the world around us.
Sure, yeah. I have found, my use of Twitter, since I started using it seriously and following cool people like RJ and a number of other people. Oh, yeah, and you. What's cool is my use of my RSS feed has dwindled to almost nothing, because if there is an article of interest and import and that needs to be read, there's some must read somewhere, 10 or 15 of my friends have already posted it on Twitter. I'm finding it that way. It's really quite amazing.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, RJ.
No, I totally agree. I don't use, my job has changed now from where I was doing more writing and speaking and needing to know exactly what was, up to the minute stuff and checking news sites and all these different things. But really now, because I'm running my own company, because I have a little bit more time to work with in terms of not the urgency of staying up to date up to the second, Twitter, I found, has accomplished everything. I can get up to the minute stuff, but I can also just use it to communicate with people. And I tell folks what I'm about to say, and they usually don't believe me, or they kind of laugh and snicker. But every dime that I've made in terms of income in the last two years since I really got on Twitter and started using it has all been from Twitter, through connections, through people, other folks reading the stuff that I do, movie reviews, book reviews. The main thrust of my writing over the last few years has been sort of the moral, theological case for free enterprise and limited government. And, people read that stuff, they send it around, I get context. I've made friends out here in LA who were living out here. I was living out here. They would read something I wrote for the Acton Institute or whatever, and now we're friends and we hang out because we found we had that common thread, that common vision. People who followed Acton all the way out here, and then we met up and they were cool guys, and now we're friends. And so everything, I owe a lot to Twitter, and as you said, it's trying to use it redemptively, trying to say, I'm going to, like anything, I'm going to use this for higher purpose. Sounds pretentious, but yeah, wanting to take it from above just mocking Keith Olbermann, but that is a lot of fun.
That's true. Now, moral. You said something about moral case for free enterprise, and all. We're not interested in that topic at all. So
no, free enterprise. No, the more the government shuts down, the freer the enterprise gets.
No, we love that topic. We're big fans. I'm a big fan of Acton. And so, RJ, tell us where are you writing mainly these days? I noticed that you do stuff on acculturated.com. So tell our viewers where they can access. RJ is a fantastic writer for our viewers. So yeah, tell us where we can access your stuff.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm kind of all over the place right now. I have. From 2009 till about a month ago, I was employed part-time by the American Enterprise Institute. Now with my company starting, I'm having to back off some of those writing responsibilities and other things. But I am launching in the next few weeks a new podcast with my friend Eric Tietzel, who I know that you are...
yeah, he's been on our show.
On our show, yeah.
Yeah, so he and I are going to be doing sort of my favorite guy in the world, the guy that I want to model my career after is Tony Kornheiser from Pardon the Interruption and ESPN, and not the PTI show, but he does a radio show out of Washington, D.C., just called the Tony Kornheiser Show, and it's sports, pop culture, and it's really just him complaining a lot of the time, and I love it. And so we're going to do a show a little bit modeled after that, but in terms of writing, I'm at acculturated.com. I write weekly, actually usually a few times a week for them. The Acton Institute, I contribute at their blog, blog.acton.org. And I still will be contributing here and there to AEI stuff. I also contribute at the American Spectator, their The Spectacle blog, it's called. And then I do different freelance writing pieces here and there. And really, as I always tell people, I don't even use my personal website, rjmoeller.com anymore. I just tell people to go on Twitter, and if they're not on Twitter, try me on Facebook. And then if they're still not on either of those, then I'll be like, oh yeah, rjmoeller.com. But usually Facebook or Twitter is the place where I'm posting and interacting, and really Twitter more than anything. I love it. I'm on there all day, as you would.
Yeah, I found that.
Right, but now, so what I've heard is that you and Eric are actually going to be our competition with this new podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that very much.
Yeah, except my company is called Black Folding Chair. Now I'm sitting on one of those right now.
Yeah, instead of Red Futon. Well played. No, that's fantastic. Now they're gonna, RJ, you're gonna launch your podcast and immediately dwarf our audience.
Do it. Well, see, we've got
which
the
is
whole
awesome.
web video thing.
Yeah, we're doing video,
now,
which is cool.
RJ, tell me a little bit about your new company. What are you focusing on? Where is it going to go? What do you want to do with it?
Yeah, this is really what I'm passionate about. For many years, I wanted to focus on my writing and speaking, and I would speak mainly at churches or to college groups about economics because I'm passionate about that subject, and a lot of churches and universities shy away from that or just aren't, it's not something on a lot of folks' radar, even though it really is. The topics of social justice and all that stuff come up, but then no one really ever addresses it, and we pat ourselves on the back and, have a cup of coffee in the lobby and head home. We don't really ever get into that stuff. So that's still a passion of mine. But what I was convicted of last fall, about this time last year, was I've been writing about entrepreneurial activity. I've been promoting this stuff. I've been reading about it, studying about it, since I graduated college in 2005, and really even into college, I was doing this stuff. And I realized I just felt a calling, a conviction of I need to put my money where my mouth is and start something and be an entrepreneur myself and feel what that feels like. And not just as an experiment, but because I had a good idea, I thought. And the idea was #productions, focusing primarily on these live events, as I mentioned before, where we bring interesting pairings and combinations of people together to have conversations about faith and culture and religious liberty and values. And even in some of the cases, we're going to get a little bit more specific on certain theological points and bringing different experts together. But really, I was positioned out here in Los Angeles in, the belly of the beast, so to speak, in the cultural making center of the country. And I said, there's tons of great people out here that are in the industry, that are writers, that are thinkers. I work, with and for two of the best talkers in America, Dennis Prager and Hugh Hewitt. And so we started to put together these live shows. We built the LLC up. Actually, Hugh Hewitt, for the first 6 months, was our lawyer, which was pretty cool to have somebody of his stature and ilk get behind this thing. And, and really, when he got behind it, that's when I said, okay, we have an idea here, because Hugh doesn't waste his time. Hugh doesn't suffer fools.
Right.
It's got to be a good idea for him to jump on board. And so we have really, it's been the most rewarding, challenging, trying to build something from the ground up is one of the most exhilarating, but also one of the most just time-consuming, soul-crunching.
Yeah, and roller coaster. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so really, I got married in July. I started, the company became official in May, and the last 4 months has just been insane, in a good way, mostly. And my wife works alongside with me. I have a business partner. We have an intern already. And we put on these live events. At least our plan is at least once a month to do a big event, once a month to do a smaller event. We draw over 1,000 people at these things. And we, the most recent one, we did Eric Metaxas and Dennis Prager in Chicago at the Moody Church having a conversation about religious liberty. And upcoming, we have Dennis Prager and Ravi Zacharias with Jeff Foxworthy hosting in Atlanta.
That's just, wow. Isn't that awesome? Where can people, this is a big question for me, RJ. You're hosting these big events. They sound so amazing. Dennis Prager, in case our viewers don't know, is Jewish. He's a conservative Jew, and you have pulled this off where you're going to put him on a stage with Ravi Zacharias. That doesn't that sound like the kind of conversation you would want to see? Where can people see this if they can't make it to Atlanta for this live event?
Yeah, well, our website is #pros. Hashtag Productions is the company, and some jerk in New York has #productions.com. But don't worry, we're taking care of him. Yeah. But for now, #pros, PROS, is the website. All of our information's there. All of our update about new events. For example, we just added yesterday a show on November 14th in Seattle with. Now I'm saying Dennis Prager's name again. Not all of these are going to be with Dennis, but he's involved with many of them. Dennis Prager, Michael Medved, George Gilder, and Dr. Stephen Meyer, and we're doing that in Seattle with the Discovery Institute folks.
This just sounds amazing.
And so that's basically what I've done is just say, your reaction is great, Brian. That's what I'm just doing. I'm putting these together based on who I would want to see, and kind of following that gut instinct of, hey, these are the guys that I respect and admire. These are the organizations I want to work with. We're putting together an event in Nashville. We're doing one at Houston Baptist University in 2014. So #pros.com, on Twitter @pros. And if you can't make the events, we make all of them available on iTunes within the week, the same week that the show happens. And now in Atlanta, we're going to be the night of the event. We will be live streaming it and making that available for folks. And our shows are going to start being rebroadcasted on different Christian television networks around the country. And the Seattle one, we're actually talking with C-SPAN, since we have 4 best-selling authors, and we might put that one on C-SPAN as well.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, RJ. We're almost out of time. If you want to know more about RJ, look for him on Twitter. Don't go to his website. Yeah, don't do it. Or Facebook. Don't do it. Just don't go to his website. Do not go to rjmoeller.com.
Yeah, the best place to find me is @RJ Moeller, RJ Moeller, and #pros, PROS. Those are my two babies, right? Well, one is my name, but the other one's my baby. The #pros. You can get all of our information. You can get downloads of the shows, and we encourage you to come check it out and let us know what you think.
Awesome. And if you'd like to follow Dead Reckoning TV, D-Reckoning @D-Reckoning TV on Twitter, D-Reckoning TV on Facebook, and you can, of course, you're watching us on YouTube, so just click the link and go.
Yep.
And Ronald Reagan is behind him. That's fantastic. I am Jay Friesen.
That's great. I'm Brian Madsen.
With RJ Moeller and Ronald Reagan. We hope you're having a great day. Check out the rest of the episodes. They're fantastic. Brian and I argue about something related to the government. Yep.